Hey, greetings everyone. Daniel Lowry back with more in our Learning Python series, and we've got a lot to do today because today is that episode I promised you that we will read from a file and use that output as input for our script to enhance and expand, to make better our brute force application to take in dictionary files. It's going to be a lot of fun, but like I said, we've got a lot to get to, so let's get to it, shall we? All right. Before I do that, let me check and make sure I got everything where it's supposed to be. All right, good deal. We've got the file open. We're ready to go. Here's our code. I'm having a good day today because my allergies are kicking my butts. But what we need to do is basically grab this code and go, you know what? That's okay, but we can do better, right? Because this is very limited in our ability to, not that we couldn't put a very long list in here of both login names and passwords. It's just a little too clunky. We'd have to hard code all that stuff in. We have a very limited way of expansion. This would not be the fun way to do it. I just want to give it files to say, hey, here's my login names files, and here's my password names file. That's what I want to do, right? That way I don't have to put all this in there. And what we got to do first is we got to take in some input from our end user. And I'm going to bust out of this else block. You'll notice I'm unindented here. I'm just going to make a comment so we know that's what's going on. Not a part of the else above this line. I'll say take input from end user for, and we'll say the login names and password, too many S's, Daniel, passwords. Yeah, I like that. Take input from the user, from end user for login names and passwords using files. Cool. Now we've got that. We can go ahead and take that input. Input's easy. We know how to take input. Bada bang, just like we see here. Do something very similar. I got to get unindented. And I will call this, well, if what we did down here was login names, and that was definitely used in our for, and then we had passwords, and that's using here. So I'm going to stick with this kind of naming convention. So I'm going to go with login names file. And that equals input, bing, 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 and then we'll put some prompting in between there. We'll do the same with passwords. Passwords file equals input. There it is, like so. Okay, now we can give the prompts. This is getting fun. Aren't you having a good time? My prompt looks a little something like this, basically just stealing from what we're doing here. And we will prompt for like enter login file. Well, I guess I'll call it login names file. Login names file. Yeah, works for me. I don't know if it works for you, but it works for me. And then we'll go down in here and we'll do the same thing. Give it my prompt and then enter password file. Bang. All right, that looks nice. Now, you might be wondering, why didn't I put that underneath that else block? And that's because if I do that, it will only run if someone doesn't put a target URL as a command line prompt or as a command line argument, right? If someone uses this functionality of our code, this part will not run. So I want this to run. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to prompt them. And ultimately, I do want to give them the option to do both. I'm just not going to do that today. I'm just going to do this part today, and we'll go back and refactor in another episode where we will add that functionality. You're going to learn a cool thing called match and case. It's going to be fun. But right now, we're just taking input, and this is going to kind of run this way. Again, if someone does this, I guess it will still run, right? Because it's not in the else, right? That's why we did this. That's why we're not putting it in that else block. I think I've made myself clear. Now let's let our end user know, hey, I want to let you know you did the right thing. Let's give it some output. We're going to use our fancy printing, right? Our F strings So I'm going to do a multi-line fancy print. I like calling it fancy print. Oh, fancy print. We'll put that there. I'm going to give it a space. I want to format this well and just kind of give the end user some confidence in what they've done and that it is correct by outputting what they've inputted back to them, reflecting it, as it were. So I'm going to give a space, and I'm going to do like a line. It's a nice big line. I like it. And then here, I'm going to do one of these actions and say login. I guess we'll do target URL. Yeah. Oh, well, you know what? We've already got that here. So I'm going to take this out. I don't want that. I don't want that there anymore. It doesn't need to be in that try block. I'm going to take that out. And I'm going to put it here. And I'm going to say target URL, colon, and then with my curly braces that we learned about, right? The F strings, the format strings from the previous episode. If you didn't watch that, go back and watch so you understand what the heck I'm doing. And we're going to call that target URL. Fancy little curly brace there. Move on to the next line, do the same kind of thing, and say login file. That looks good. Curly brace, and that is login names file. Bam. One more again. Do something very similar. And this will be, I'll just call it pass file. That kind of keeps things in line. I like that. Curly brace, and that is called passwords file. And again, just grabbing all this stuff. This one is coming from here, from this input. So this will not run like, actually it will. Everything's going to work, I think. I'm thinking everything's going to work. I think we're good. I think we're golden. I'm loving it. But then we go, of course, we got to finish this. But all these are coming. This is coming from either the command line argument or the input from this else block. All this other stuff is coming from here. So login names file and password file. That's how we're getting this stuff into the system. From here, I'm just going to copy and paste another one of these lovely lines. Copy. Because you know what? They make me happy. Make me feel good inside. And I don't care what anybody says about it. I'm going to give another space for formatting and then finish it off with my triple double quotes and my close parentheses. So that's going to look nice. That's going to make the end user go, when they see it, trust me, I know there's a lot of weird stuff going on, but hit the I believe button right now. And then when we run this thing, you're going to go, oh, yeah, that looks nice. I like that. That looks pretty. And of course, you can change it if you like. Do whatever you like. That's up to you. I won't stop you. But for me, I'm feeling good about this. And I think the end user will appreciate it. End user being myself. So I know they will when they see that output. Okay, let's get back into it. Because now that we have that, we have taken input from our end user for that login names file and that password file. Now that we've got that, I now need to actually open those files and read them. And we do that by using open. So if we go to Google, Python, open, and documentation, right? That's going to take us to our built-ins. And if we hit the built-ins link, we look in alphabetical order, LMNO for open right there. We can see how open works. There's a lot to this. Really, all we need to know right now is that we're going to open, right? We're going to use the open built-in. We're going to give it the file name. We can define that it is mode read right now, but that's the default. We might also want to throw encoding on it with UTF-8 because that is a universally well accepted and understood encoding. I would also recommend we look at this, reading and writing files. In here, it gives us, don't you love examples? Now, this is old school, right? This is the old way of doing it. This is not normally how we do this nowadays. This still works. You can do this, but you have to remember to close your file. It does not clean itself up, right? And you'd have to use close. What we like to do nowadays is what it says here. It's a good practice to use the with keyword when dealing with file objects. The advantage is that the file is properly closed after its suite finishes, even if an exception is raised at some point. using with is also much shorter than writing the equivalent try finally blocks. So this is really what we're looking for right here. And this is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to do this exact thing. I could literally copy this if I wanted to. Heck, and then just change the values of what I need. I'll actually do that just to prove it. Copy, go back over here. And then now we're going to jump down into our try block. Do we need to go in our try block? No, we don't. We're going to be above it. Let's give it some more spaces, and let's go ahead and comment what we're doing. Opening files. Open. I guess I need to say the login names file and passwords file, right? Did I use passwords or password? I did use passwords. Good, the plural. That's what I wanted. All right, opening login names file and passwords file. Bam, copy pasta. That had some fun in it. We'll remove that. But basically, this is what's going on here. This is very, very cool. So we're doing with open. So it's opening the file. Now, we're not work file, right? If I wanted to give it a file name, I could say, usernames.txt. And that brings us to a really good point of relative path versus absolute path. If you're not familiar with those terms, relative path means I'm in a directory, right? Right now, we're in the home. So I'll be in this tilde represents my home directory, which is /home/D Lowry, or I'm sorry, Kali. I guess we're in Kali. So /home/Kali. And we're in the learning Python directory. There is another directory I have called test, which is where I test all the things that we're going to run if I need to. Or and a lot of other things. I test stuff in my test folder. That's what it's for. So if I need to give the relative path, I can do .. So if I wanted to ls that, I can ls .. test. And that .. lets me know that that is moving out of this folder up one level into my home Kali and then back down into test. So that is a relative path. Then there's absolute path, which would be /home/Kali/test. That's the absolute path. Okay. The cool thing is about Python, when you give it a file name like usernames.txt here, it's just going to look in the in the folder or directory that you're already in. My garbage man is here. I don't know if you can hear him, but he might be making an appearance in this episode. Oh, get that garbage man. You tell it what to do. Go with that truck. But anyway, so if I give it this usernames.txt file, it's going to look right here in whatever directory we're in, which is going to be this learning Python's directory, learning Python. So if I ls this and it doesn't find that, obviously we would get an error. It would say, file not there. Es no bueno. Or I could give it that, .. test usernames.txt, because that is where that file does exist. I can prove that to you, right? So I can do ls .. using the relative path test/usernames.txt. There it is. I can cat .. test/usernames.txt. There's all the users I've put in that file, right? So that's using the relative path. I can also do the absolute path. I can cat /home/Kali/test/usernames.txt. And it says no such file or directory. Well, that's because I just did something wrong. Sure. I spelled Kali wrong. Test usernames. There you go. There it is. That would be using the absolute path. So now you know the difference between the relative path and the absolute path. I'm not doing that here, though. We got that from here. We're getting that from there. And maybe we need to tell our end user, use absolute path names, right? That is not an uncommon thing. Most tools that I have worked with that do hacky things typically just use the absolute path. You have to tell it This is the full path to where this thing exists. If you get an error, obviously, this is the kind of the work of doing Cody stuff where you're just going, okay, yeah, that works this way, but it doesn't necessarily work that way. Do I prompt my end user? How do I fix it to where they can use either? Right? So the good thing is we know that Python is going to look in the area that they are. And since we're writing this for ourselves, we can do that. But if somebody else wanted to use it, you got to take those things into account. What's that user experience going to look like? Right now, let's just get the file read, right? Let's just do that. Let's just assume that we're using absolute path or that the file, either way, it should be fine. But I don't want to do this, right? I want to put in my variable name for these things, not target name, but login names file. So I'm going to say with open, I'm going to remove all this, including the quotes, and I'm just going to call it, I need that, login names file, like that. Give it a comma. Then it has encoding, UTF-8s, which is cool. We like that. As F, we can make F anything we like. We can name it Flurgen if we felt like it. That's not really descriptive. F is fine, I guess. Nah, I don't like that. I'm gonna do something else. I'm gonna call it login names file, LNF, capitalized, for my own personal enjoyment. But you can call it whatever you like. F if you want to stick with that. That's cool. It's just, and that is common practice. But hey, what are you gonna do? Then it has this read underscore data. I'm not gonna call it read underscore data. I'm gonna call it login names, right? Because that's what I want it to be. This is now getting ready to get commented out. I don't need you no more. I need login names. So login names is going to equal lnf.read. Now read, man, this is going to be a long episode today. It's going to be a long episode today, but it doesn't matter because this is good stuff. And it takes a little bit, right? It takes some effort to get the stuff under the fingers, into the mind, as it were. Read is reading, right? It's reading the file, but there's some fun stuff that goes along with our friend read here. And read is not going to be what we want. And I'll show you why here. Let's jump back in. Let's go over to the Python docs. And let's go back and let's look for QR, I think. Let's do this. Let's go back to Google. And this time we'll put read here. Documentation. Input, output. Guess where we're at? Back at our old format strings area. Oh man, isn't that fun? Because this is something that's in the same vein. If you scroll it on down, where are we at here? Wait for it. The format method. We've got manually formatting strings, a lot about formatting. Old string formatting. Reading and writing files. Hey, we're doing that. Open returns a file object. Hey, we saw that. Hey, weren't we just here? Yeah, we were, right? Which is kind of funny. But if you keep scrolling, scrolly. Methods. There it is. It was right underneath there. I thought it was on a different page. I'm sorry about that. Methods of file objects. The rest of the examples in this section will assume that the file object called F has already been created, which it has. We've got that. We've got this read business. Now, does it say it here? Does it say about read? There it is right there. To read a file's content, call f.read and then size, but we don't need size. We're not working with size. It says, which reads some quantity of data and returns it as a string in text mode, or a bytes object in binary mode. Size is optional, so we can tell it how much we want it to read back, but read is basically going to take the entire file and read it as one big string. That is not what we want to do, right? If we look at our file output, it is basically every line has a value. So it's a new line separated value system. I have a new value on every new line. So I want to read this line by line. That's what I want to do. If I do read, it's going to read it in as one big blob, and that's going to be its line. It's going to get weird, and it's going to be, and actually, it'll even do more weird stuff. It'll break it up into each character, and that's going to get wrong. That's not what we want. So read is wrong. Let's take a look and see if we have other options, right? Oh, look at this. We have Readline. That reads in a single line from the file. A new line character is left at the end of the string and is only omitted at the last line of the file if the file does not end in a new line. Okay, interesting. I don't think that's still what we want because it reads a single line from the file. All right, let's keep going. For reading lines from a file, you can loop over the file object. This is memory efficient, fast, and blah, blah, blah. So it's showing me ways I could loop over this, but it's not really where we're going. Oh, but look at this right here. This one line. This is why the documentation is super important. If you want to read all the lines of a file in a list, you can also use list f or f.readlines. I like that, right? So that is what we want to use. And if we didn't read the docs, we would have been on the struggle bus for a little bit and done some Googling. But I did the Googling for you. And that's what we need to do. So we need to change this to read lines like that. All right, so that's getting good. And now we have the login names variable that we used to have here that we have now commented out. We now need to do the same exact thing here, but for the passwords file, right? So we're going to do another, to go back, thank you, with open. We'll call it password file, right? Passwords file, like that. Encoding equals UTF-8. Put that like there, and we'll do that as password file. Bam, just PWF. Go down, jump in. Oh, you know what? That did not. That's going to cause me problems. Fun fact, see how that was spaces? So I copied it, and this is a good. I'm actually, this is a happy little accident here. Here, when I copied that from the documentation, this is where copy and pasting can get you in trouble. It was spacebar, spaces, space, indentation for that under indentation block. We have been using tabs. You can't mix the two. I don't think you can. It can get wonky. Let's put it that way. It can get weird and cause you problems, and then you're looking for white space characters, and that is not a fun hunt. Okay? So stick with one thing or the other, and that's why copying and pasting is a bad thing, and I'm glad I just figured that out, and it was a happy accident. We would have had some errors, and man, that would have been not fun. But there you go. You have been warned. I have not been using spaces. I've been using tabs. And that is what I'm doing here. All right. So now I can comment this out and put passwords there. Passwords equals pwf.readlines. Like so. Oh my goodness. So is it a bit to get a file read? Not really. Oh, so it's like 2 lines of code to read a file, but to understand what's happening, that does take a little bit of effort. This is why this episode is going to go a little bit long. I mean, I'm already at like 20 something minutes here. So, and we still got a bit to do. Like I said, we had to get at it, but I want you to understand this stuff. I want to make sure that it actually makes sense as we move throughout this. Now, we've got a really good stage set. We're prompting our user, okay? We're getting those input file names. We're letting them know this is what you told me you wanted. Cool. We're opening the files. Cool. Everything's rocking and rolling. Guess what? We might be money, right? Because for name and login names for word and passwords, which we are getting from the files, everything else looks like it might work. I say we save and give this the old tester. See what happens. I'm sure we'll have some debugging to do, but hey, it's going to be a great time. So I'm going to save. Don't forget, we're going to rev this. So file, save as, and we're going to rev this to version 8 and click save. And now that we have that, let's jump over here. We will clear. Now, like I said, I've got 2 files, a usernames.txt file and a password.txt file in that /test directory. So let's make sure to give it full path. We will try relative path as well. That should be fun just to see how it goes. And then we can also copy those. So let's do that. Let's copy /test/usernames.txt here. So just put a period for here. And now we should have that. And there it is. And we'll do the same, copy /test/passwords to here, like that, ls. And now we have both usernames and passwords here. But it also exists in that test file because all we do is copy it. We have our brute force 8. Let's chmod that. Chmod +x brute force -v8. And now we can just fire it off. Brute force -v8 .py. If everything goes well, we should have some money. Okay. So far, nothing is broken. Target URL is going to be http://192.168.1.163/bwap/login.php. Look at that. We're getting still prompting. Loving it. We will give it the file name. So we're going to go with just usernames.txt because it is here. We'll try that first. Usernames.txt. We will give the password file of passwords.txt. And there it goes. So it is doing something, but it didn't do it right? It did and it didn't. Look at what we've got here. So it's saying trying creds, getting our prompt, and then it's saying B, and then it's putting the colon and the password that it's trying on a new line. Now, let's go ahead and celebrate some wins here because we did get a win. All of these are coming straight from those files. So it is reading the files. We read the file correctly. We've just got some weird formatting issue going on here. All right, so we got to fix that. Because that's not going to work. And it's causing it not to give us any success value. So it's actually probably breaking the actual request that's being done because this isn't in the right format. So I'm guessing there's some weirdness going on. Let's jump back into and read about this. It says, I think I read back here, reading lines from a file I can loop over. No. Where was that at? I think from here, Readline reads a single line from the file and a new line character is left at the end of the string. I wonder if Readlines does the same thing because it's reading that in from the first file and then giving us a new line character. I bet that's what's happening. So we need to remove that new line character. A good way to do some removal of new line characters is Python strip. Yeah, there we go. And then documentation. I love how that's going on. Where is the Python docs string strip? That's fun to say, isn't it? This document is for an older version. Okay, well, give me the stable release then. It's under built-in types. I'm going to do a Control F for strip. Why can I not type that today? Stripped. That is not what I'm looking for. L strip, no. L strip, no. L strip, no. R strip, no. Just strip. There it is. Return a copy of the string with the leading and trailing characters removed. The char's argument is a string of specified blah, blah, blah. We just need to add .strip to what we're doing. So let's go to the code and let me show you what I'm talking about. So in here, we have let's see here, R equals request post, and then we have this name, form submits, so on and so forth going on. So we need to take this name and word and strip those characters off. So let's jump in here and just go ahead and get it done right right after we call it. So under this iteration, we're going to do, I'll just call it n. N equals name dot strip. Don't forget your open close parentheses. Then we're going to do the same thing for words. So we're going to go in here and we're going to do W equals word dot strip. And that should remove any characters that are at the beginning or the end of the iterated word and password, right? Or name and password. Now that does change things up a little bit because now we've got to go down here in our requests because this is no longer name. This is called in. And this is no longer word. I don't know if you can see that. This was name, right? This was name. It is now in. And this is no longer word. It is going to be W. This all looks good. We can go in here when it'll change this as well because that says name and that's not what we're calling. We are calling in and we are calling W. Cool. Do it here as well. Anytime, anywhere, you gotta follow through. If you find name, you got to replace it with in. If you find word, you got to replace it with W. And that should do us a whole lot better. I'm going to control S that's. And then let's retest. Ding, 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 ding. Retest our thing here. Okay, URL http / not www 192.168.1.163 / b /login.php. Login file's name is usernames.txt, passwords.txt. Oh, that looks money. That looks so much better. And I can see here, we hit on a success. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Everything is working, right? Oh, this is wonderful. Okay. So I like this. I'm just kind of scrolling up. You can see it's much more robust now. Look at how many usernames and passwords we got to throw at this thing, right? And I get this lovely formatting. It's all looking good. Oh man, I am super happy with what's going on, except I wish it would stop when it finds a success, right? And maybe this is going to get so much output, we don't want to throw that at the screen anymore, but let's just stop at success at this point. I'm going to show you how to do that. If you go into your statement here, it's going to say, hey, trying this, if the length equals this, and you get this print success, I can stop the loop by typing break. That means we're done. I found what I'm looking for. I want you to stop. There's also continue. That's if, hey, I found something I'm looking for, but I want you to go ahead and skip and go to the next loop, even though something has happened. Continue would be keep on rocking. I don't need a continue here, but there will be times when you need continue. Right now, I just wanted to, if it finds a successful thing, do that. Print that out and stop the loop. I don't need to continue. Let's save that. Let's test it. And this time I'm going to give it the relative path. So .. to that test file /usernames.txt, just for more testing purposes. Oh, that's the URL. Duh. HTTP, that would have got an error. 192.168.1.163 / b wap /login.txt. Here, now I can give it .. test /usernames.txt. And for this one, I will give it the absolute path of home /collie /test /passwords.txt. Just test everything and bam. Now, I did not get it typing in success. You'll notice this right here. These creds did not work. That's interesting. Let's go back, see where I made a mistake. If length is greater than 4096, why is that not working? So this is where you get to watch me get on the struggle bus for a second here. If len print f success, it should have done that. I'm just wondering where things went a little awry. Where did it go awry? Trying creds. I'm just, let's take a look at that output again. Trying creds B, and it did not take it. I'm wondering if there is an issue with the file, right? That seems to be odd. I can see it read bug there. I can see, but look, maybe there's an empty space. Did it read bug down here? That is strange. B, I don't see bug. Oh, there it is. Yeah, it read B bug. Trying those creds. All right, let's take our breakout. I'm just going to comment that out and see if everything goes back to normal. I'm going to do, this is why you shouldn't mix up your testing. Let's try, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try break all by itself. I'm going to make sure everything else is uniform. Control S and see what happens. So target URL, http:// 2 slashes, Daniel? No, 1 slash. 192.168.1.163 bwap/login.php. Here we're going to give it the usernames.txt file. We're going to give it the passwords.txt file. Fire off. And boom. Okay, so that worked well. Let's retest. This time we will do the same here with 192.168.1.163 /bwap/login.php. And file name, we're going to give it //test/usernames.txt //test/passwords.txt. Let's see if everything works well here. That worked fine. Okay, one last try, and we're going to use the absolute path on that one, which is, one more time, one more again, /192.168.1.163 /bwap. We're going to get good at typing this in, aren't we? .php. And here we're going to do a /home/kali/test/usernames.txt /home/kali/test/username, no, passwords.txt. And money. Okay, so I must have typed in something wrong. You're probably yelling at the screen for the last 4 to 5 minutes going, Daniel, you typed in the wrong thing. So I'm guessing that's what happened because our break works, right? Break stopped things from continuing on. Once we hit debug, it did not go any farther and hit a success. We are reading from files. We have correct formatting. This is good. We're at a happy spot. Like I said, a bit of a longer episode, and I got to have a few happy little accidents, but we did learn a lot about how we read from files, what happens when it comes to path, whether that be relative or absolutes, how we can work that, incorporate it in. We do have some more stuff to do if we want to add more functionality as far as being able to work strictly from the command line or strictly from a prompting-driven system. But we're in a good spot. So next episode, I think we're going to add some of that command line optioning stuff and learn a bit about match and case. But, whew, man, thank you for joining me in this episode. And yeah, hope to see you in the next one upcoming. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you feel like you got some value out of it. I would appreciate that. And then hit that notification bell to make sure you know when every episode drops. Said until next time, kids, keep hacking.